Hello, everyone. I think I'm ready now, finally. Thank you for spending some time with us today. I do appreciate it. Going to look at something today you may have never thought of, especially in the context of what I'm going to put it in. There are a lot of Christian churches this week preparing for large number of visitors after the Charlie Kirk memorial service in the United States. That's not the invasion I want to talk about. But I will go down that rabbit hole for just a second. And I'm going to say this. If your place of worship sees an unusually large number of visitors this week, please don't do what I have witnessed so many times. You walk into a new church, whether you're there to visit, whether you're there to speak, it doesn't matter. People sort of, they want to know who the new people are, right? And they will, I'm going to say it this way. Sometimes it feels like you're being attacked. Okay. I'll just say it that way. The people who want to know, they think they're showing an outpouring of love. They really do. So just be mindful of that. A lot of these people, they're searching for comfort. They're searching for truth. And quite honestly, an overwhelming welcome is not what they're looking for. It's not what they're looking for. The Bible actually describes two very different kinds of invasion. One is a direct attack, and I'm not talking about an armed conflict here. The United States has seen some of that. Places around the world have seen some of that. What I'm trying to talk about, what I'm trying to describe when I say an attack, maybe it's legal action, right? Somebody takes legal action against a church. It's just that simple. It happens. People will sue over the most ridiculous things in the United States today. Doesn't matter if it's church or synagogue. People just, they think they can attack you by legal means. Sometimes it's a group that's protesting in front of the building. And, for the people who attend there regularly, it might seem like it's the end of the world. Oh, why are they doing this to us? But, it's not. It's not. They're trying to prove a point of something. And it's quite honestly the only way they know how. They think they don't have anything else. Now, if you're facing legal proceedings, those can be handled fairly quickly. I realize that in the United States, especially, legal matters quickly is the speed of a glacier. Okay. It takes forever. It's monotonous and expensive. What I want to concentrate on today, though, is something very different. Best described, I think, by the writer of Jude in the New Testament. And it, it reads, "For certain men have crept in among you unnoticed, ungodly ones who were designated long ago for condemnation. They turn the grace of our God into a license for immorality, and they deny our only Master and Lord Jesus Christ." Okay? He has to put that in there because he's talking New Testament. But notice the descriptive. Okay? They've crept in. They might have come in deceiving you. Maybe they were unnoticed at first, getting the lay of the land, kind of spying on you a little bit. You know what I mean? Right? They're ungodly. They intend to do evil, not necessarily physical harm, something much worse. And the something much worse, you may not have been planning a defense against. It's that simple. These people have, they've been planning it for a long time. They want to destroy the church, not because they don't like the people. They don't like God. It's that simple. But they're patient. And Jude writes they turn grace into a license to sin. Now, let's be fair. What's written didn't take a prophet, right? It had been done. It had been going on since the Hebrew people, the mixed multitude, left Egypt, and probably before that. All right, we read the accounts of the Exodus where we see people, some were groaning, some were grumbling, and they got the mixed multitude stirred up. Oh, Moses, you brought us out here to die. Oh, Moses, we're hungry. Oh, Moses, we're thirsty. Why did God do this to us? They complained and they gossiped. And others, they're complaining. I'm not really happy with my life right now. So they joined in. They cornered Aaron into making an idol. And they attempted a couple of times to take over the entire nation, but they failed each time. Now, later on, the nation of Israel, after they went into the land, had some other folks come in, but they had learned. They'd studied a little bit. They got the lay of the land, and they realized if we can turn the priests away from God, we can turn the people away from God. So you're going to find this in Malachi chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. And now this decree is for you, O priests, speaking specifically to the priest. If you do not listen, and if you do not take it to heart to honor my name, says the Lord of hosts, I will send a curse among you, and I will curse your blessings. I've already begun to curse them, because you are not taking it to heart. Now, the priests at the time were going through the motions, but they were not focused on the Creator. And he was getting ready to smack them around a little bit, right? He's going to get their attention. But to get to today, we have to go back to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 10:21, specifically. For the shepherds have become senseless. They do not seek the Lord. Therefore, they have not prospered, and their flock is scattered. Now, this is a metaphor, of course, but it describes the priests as in Malachi, right? And it describes a lot of Christian pastors and a few rabbis today. Yes, it does. The shepherds have become senseless. They do not seek the Lord. They have not prospered, and their flock is scattered. Let's apply this to what we see in places of worship. Church leaders are no longer focused on the Creator. They've become senseless, right? They're preaching something different. More on that in a second. The places of worship are failing miserably. People are leaving. The flock is scattered. And it's a great example if you've ever watched sheep. Some of them will climb through a fence. They leave the flock. But they kind of group themselves together in smaller groups. They hang out where they think the food's a little better, where they have clean water, right? It's what we're seeing in the United States anyway. I can't speak for the rest of the world because I don't regularly travel outside of the United States. But in the United States, if you travel the what we call the back roads, the roads less traveled, there's a possibility, a good possibility. You're going to see a small sign. Maybe it says home church here or Bible study here, and it'll give you a date and a time. The flocks, they see the other sheep and they're kind of getting together a little bit where the food's better. The water might be a little cleaner. Pastors, are you listening to what I'm saying? Right? These folks, they're going to where they're going to hear the Bible, where it's discussed. Not traditions, not denominational doctrines, or worse. Dr. Ben Carson had a word for this. He calls it social gospel, where whatever is going on in the world, that's what we're going to teach. We're not going to teach against sin. We're not going to preach out of the Bible. We're going to say it's okay to be like the rest of the world. We don't have to be separate anymore. We don't have to be different. So, if you're one of the folks who are planning to visit a new place of worship this week, you may be a little disillusioned, right? Now, I read something in a social media post this morning, part of a group that for local people that I'm part of. Someone was looking for a new church, and then they listed some things they were looking for. And I realized very quickly, this person is not looking for a church. They're looking for a social club. All right. But they're looking for a social club where they feel safe. Someplace they can take the kids. If you're thinking about looking for a new place of worship, what is the number one thing you should be looking for? And hopefully it's not music, or it's not, the children's program. Hopefully you're looking for a place where they focus on teaching the sacred word of the Creator. If that's your focus, if that's what you're looking for, of course, if you're listening to me, chances are you're not looking for another place to worship. Not that I'm giving it to you, but, you need to meet with people. I meet with people, sometimes in Zoom, sometimes in person, but we get together and we study. If you're thinking about a new place, don't anticipate what it's going to be like, right? Don't set that goal too high, because chances are you're going to be disappointed. And if you are one of those places who is preparing for a large contingent of new visitors, be wary. Be wary. Some of them actually are searching for truth. They're searching for comfort. The problem is there's going to be a few who are going to come creeping in, and they're going to try to infiltrate. Their heart's going to be set on disruption. Their heart's going to be set on turning as many people away from the Creator as they can. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But here is my warning, all right? Don't just watch the new visitors. Look around, see who's already among you. You may have already been invaded. What's going on? Is the pastor preaching straight out of the Bible? Or is he preaching the social gospel? Something you have to ask yourself about. Something you have to ask yourself about. I want to remind everyone very quickly, the books are available at authorjerrymitchell.com if you want to know more. And I hope this has given you something very, very timely and informative to think about for this weekend. Some places worship on Friday night, some on Saturday, some on Sunday. The majority on Sunday. You can worship anytime. But I'll caution you not to focus on the social aspects of it. Focus on what's being taught. Just something to think about. Until next time, and until then, I do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.